boys and girls. Welcome back to the Gaelic Gridiron podcast. Delighted to be joined by a bit of a Pittsburgh Steelers legend. It's Montravius Adams. Montravius, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I was just saying to you before we started. I'm a big, and anyone who knows who listens to the podcast will know I'm a pretty big Steelers fan. So this is a pretty good opportunity. So I hope you're doing well over there.
Oh yeah. Well, right now I'm currently back at home. I just bought my first home for the family. We in North Atlanta, but we report back on April 15th. So right now I'm just enjoying the family a little bit and getting some workouts in and trying to take care of this body.
Well, congratulations on becoming a homeowner. I'm currently trying to buy a house myself, and it's not easy, is it?
Nah, you're right about that. You're right. Man, we probably looked at about 50 houses, but we narrowed it down to the perfect one, so it's all good.
I'm right in the middle of that. Well, look, Montravius, you recently signed a 2-year extension with the Steelers, so congratulations on that. I'm delighted to have you around for a little while longer, at least in the black and gold. But do you see your long term future in the NFL being with the Steelers?
Yeah, me personally, man, with the Steelers organization, I usually just say Mike T, but honestly, what the Steelers organization did for me and my family, man, honestly, as a kid, I always thought I would play up to 10 years. This year will be the start of year 8, and I could definitely see myself finishing out at Pittsburgh. I mean, they kind of helped rejuvenated my career in a couple ways, and this is a place where I like to lay it all on the line at and finish out right here.
You've been, like I said, you've been with Pittsburgh now for the past 2 years after stops with the Packers and the Saints, and what is it about the Steelers organization that attracted you or stands out the most to you as a team?
Probably the relationships with the coaches, especially Mike T. Man, because if I'm being honest, like I was in New Orleans at the time, and honestly, I was kind of in a space where, like, man, all these NFL teams kind of the same. It is what it is. So I'll just stay right here in New Orleans. But man, Mike T and them, they gave me a call, and as you can see, it went great. But man, it's just him being a player's coach, being for the people, like it's just a blessing, and it definitely helps. It definitely helps on the morale side too.
How does he? I mean, he's been there for so long now. He like ever since I've been a Steelers fan, Coach Tomlin has been there, and he's known for his Tomlinisms, for his quotes. But how does he motivate you to get the best out of you?
Because I think one of the things is, I think he always say is, it don't matter what terms you got here or how you got here or when you get here. It's just about buying in. And one thing that I think they do different that other teams sometimes don't do is, okay, I feel like I can be pretty realistic with myself. When I came into the NFL, I was more of an instinctive football player than, like, knowing the game of
Yeah.
football. And I feel like at the beginning of my career, that was kind of why I didn't get on the field as much, just because I didn't really understand how to play. But for Mike T, it's about feeding into your strengths. You know what I mean? And for me, I was a guy who can get off the ball pretty quick. You know what I mean? Get off blocks, do this and that. And I feel like that's what helped boosting my morale. Like him just feeding off my strengths and throwing me out there and letting me play and be comfortable with it and trusting me and our bond building.
The Steelers are one of the most historic franchises in the NFL and one of the oldest franchises. What's it like to be part of that now and to play for that kind of caliber of team?
I guess I would just have to give you kind of example for me, and it was just like me being a nose tackle for the Steelers majority of the time, and getting to meet Mean Joe Green. I think that was probably the pinnacle. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like just to meet a Hall of Famer legend like that, man. It's and it's crazy that he knew who I was. Well, to me, you know what I mean. It was crazy that he knew who I was and tried to give me a little help on the game and stuff like that. So, man, it's just for me, it's just real big. It's like it's family based, and it's like, man, like you see, like we love each other,
Yeah.
for real.
So obviously, you're part of one of the best defenses in the NFL, and obviously you've made massive contributions since you've been part of that defense. But like, what's the culture like, on that side of the ball in the defensive side of the locker room?
Honestly, it's just everybody do their own job first. You know what I mean? And it's just making sure like we flying around and we playing physical. Like, and if we ain't doing nothing, we being physical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is kind of born from, just physicality. And I feel like these last 2-3 years I've been there, I feel like we kind of been holding our end of the stick pretty well. But I feel like we still can be a little bit better.
You're playing with some future Hall of Famers and some true Steelers legends. You're playing with the likes of Cam Heyward, TJ Watt, and now you have Patrick Queen joining as well. Um, playing with that caliber of player must kind of inspire you and motivate you to go 100% all the time when you're on the field.
Um, Let me see how I will answer that question. Um, Honestly, I just think it's like being with those guys and us building our bonds. It's just it's just knowing you can count on them and knowing that they can count on you. You want to be a guy that they can count on and the coaches. Because I mean, if we're being honest, like through my time in the league, it's all about
Mm.
trust. So if the coaches trust you and your player next to you trusts you, then y'all have a lot of success. But I just know in different positions, we all help each other. And if I'm being honest, my first getting there from New Orleans, when I first got there, like, man, if it wasn't for the leadership of those guys, and I say Cam especially, just because like when I first got there, it was week 10, 11. I didn't know their plays or nothing. That's why Mike T always say jump on the move and train. But that dude looked out for me in so many different ways of like that is crazy. You know what I mean? And I could be out there in the game and not know a play and whatever Cam say, like I'm just gonna do it at 100 miles per hour. And I feel like that's what's helped our bond and helped our trust build.
And do you see yourself potentially becoming a leader with the Steelers and a defensive captain in the future? Is that something that you'd like to have as part of your career?
Me personally, I don't really have to be the have the C on my chest.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I feel like real leaders always lead regardless of whatever position
Yeah.
they put in. And my thing is just trying to help the younger guys build, help them understand the game a little bit more. And at the end of the day, I just want to see the guys win. You know what I mean? So anything that I can do while I'm there, like that's what I do.
You mentioned that you're going into year 8 now in the league. So obviously you've grown up watching some of the great defensive players of all time. And you talk about Joe Green there. I mean, not only a Steelers legend, but also a true legend of the NFL, period. Is there any particular player or players that you try to model your game off, or that you would always try to emulate as a player?
Um, Well, I grew up. Mine's a little different. I kind of started out as a running
Okay.
back, so it was a little weird. I thought I was gonna be the next Brandon Jacobs. I don't know if you know BJ, but he went to Auburn as well. You know, played a good amount of time in the league, had a lot of success. But in my ninth grade year in high school, man, I was 6'3", 278. Brandon Jacobs was 6'3", 265, and I was like, man, I guess I just have to hit him. You know what I mean? So we made that transition, and I guess the first defensive lineman, or the first two I would say I looked at the time, was probably
Mm.
Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley at Auburn. But I really can't say our game resembles, but Because if I'm being honest, I feel like most of my teaching of the league came from, and this might be a weird thing, with me being on the Steelers, but came from Jerry Montgomery, which is back in Green Bay. I feel like he's one of the better teachers of the league, and I say teachers for a reason because I think there's a difference between
Mm.
teachers and coaches. I think there's a lot of good coaches around the league, but scarce on the teachers.
And on that note of great teachers, who would be your favorite NFL player of all time? And that might be a hard one to narrow down, but if you could pick just one, or we'll give you two, but like who stands out to you as being like the number one favorite football player of all time? Yeah, your
My
favorite.
favorite? Oh man, it's
Reggie
still Reggie
Bush.
Bush.
So
Reggie Bush,
even as a
my
defensive
guy.
player, you're gonna pick an offensive guy.
Hey man, like I told you, I started off
True.
on the offensive side of the ball. So man, Reggie helped me, and it's crazy. Like I know this probably like this for everybody, but man, Reggie helped me in so many ways that, and I never met Reggie Bush, but he's helped me in so many ways that like it can't even be explained. But I definitely appreciate it. Didn't get to live out the running back dream, but still made it in there. You know what I mean? But a lot of that credit goes to Reggie Bush, and then I would have to say on the defensive side, honestly, it wouldn't be a guy in the NFL. It would be one of my cousins who I felt like could have made it. One of the most aggressive, one of the fastest first steps I've seen off the ball and in my life, and that's including with some of the NFL guys.
That's definitely. It's always good to be inspired by family. That's pretty cool. Uh, Montravius, obviously with the Steelers, you're playing in one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL, and we have a couple of rivalries in there as well. And some of them didn't go the way we would have liked last season. But who's your favorite team to play against in the AFC North, and why? This response will be very interesting. I'm very curious to know.
Um, I guess it would have
Okay.
to be the Ravens. Like I wanna kind of say the Bengals, but for me it's kind of weird because I
Mm,
understand that rivalry, and then I have had past rivalries with some of the players like Deshaun Watson, who's at Clemson, who's now at the Browns. So I wanna beat them. You know what I mean? I played against Roquan Smith, who's the Ravens linebacker. We was like rival high
yeah.
schools. You know what I mean? So like I feel like it's more than
Yeah.
just that. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit more. So I probably would have to. I guess I would
I
have to
mean,
go
it's
with the
it's
Ravens.
definitely one. I think it's
Um,
out of all the rivalries in the AFC North, it's definitely the most intense. I mean, we don't like the Browns, we don't like the
yeah,
Bengals, but we hate the
yeah,
Ravens.
yeah. I just think that's man. I just think when you think about NFL, like that's where physicality comes from. I think those were some of the most physical teams
Yeah.
that the NFL has seen.
Okay. Yeah. No, I definitely would have to agree with you there. Well, Travis, I want to talk a little bit about the Steelers and Ireland now, just to kind of wrap things up. So obviously, there's been a lot of talk recently with the Steelers expanding into Ireland about a potential game here in the coming years. So, how excited would you be to play in front of 80,000 Steelers fans, part of Steelers Nation in Ireland?
Man, I would love it. Honestly, I would love it just being able to, get out of the US and experience the differences and just to see that man, people really love you all over the world. You know what I mean? And even though they love you, like they probably don't know like as much as we love them. You know what I mean? And us being able to come over there and just play that sport there and let those people, gravitate towards us, like man, I think it'll be a great blessing. I think it'd be a great blessing. I mean, me personally, on some different notes, and I think it should be a lot more games
I
over there.
definitely, I think I speak for everyone listening and all American football fans in Ireland when I say I definitely agree with you, and we would definitely agree with that sentiment. And luckily, we are seeing more and more games being announced for Europe. So, but if you could play against any team in Ireland, who would it be? You know, what would your dream matchup be for a game outside of the US?
Steelers in the Super Bowl versus
A Super
whoever.
Bowl in Ireland, that would definitely be, you know, that would definitely be something special. And like you talked there about getting outside of the US, you know, and playing in front of the fans here. If you could pick one country in the world, you know, obviously outside of Ireland, to play an NFL game in, where would that be, and why? I feel like I've put you on the spot there.
For me, for me personally, man, I would like to. I feel like as an African American man born in the United States, I just would like to go somewhere back in the somewhere, somewhere back in Africa. You know what I mean? Like just to because I feel like that's more of an experience for everybody. You know what I mean? A lot of us, and I might be taking a different note, but you know what I mean. It's big on family. Is big on me. That's something I always looked at, and I did the little ancestry thing, and trace back, little heritage and stuff like that. And man, I just think that's something. I
Yeah.
just think that's something big. You know what I mean? That's
Montravius, I'm going to finish up with a question, and thank you again so much for taking the time. Always a pleasure and always a privilege to talk to not only NFL players but Steelers players in particular. So obviously, you know, you've played football through high school, through college at Auburn, and now in the NFL. What would be your favorite football memory? Is there anything that stands out to you from your entire playing career? Just going, wow, I will always remember that.
man, if I'm being honest, it's probably my kids. Man, my first son was born
Okay.
the same day I was drafted. My second son was born the next year, right before the first game. So for me, it's kind of been them, man. They've been football babies from the day they was born, and they in love with it as well. And it's just weird, you know what I mean? Like I remember the Green Bay Packers calling me, and I'm still in the hospital, and it was like, man, you know what? We'll just call you back, man. We understand, you know what I mean? So like they're probably the biggest things for football
That's
for
pretty
me.
special. That's a great answer. And one last question before I let you go, I promise. Are the Steelers going to win it all this season? I love
Yes,
it. I
sir.
love it. But look,
No
Montravius,
hesitation. But I'm gonna be honest though. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like we have a special defense. From last year, I feel like they added some key pieces that can only make it better, and I'm sure we'll click when we all get back together. And when it comes to the offense, man, I just think once we go back to our old identity, which is the Steelers running the ball and making passes off of it, man, we're gonna be fine, and we're gonna surprise a lot of people, and that's
well,
just
I'd
is what it
certainly
is.
have all of your faith and more as a fan. And I wish you all the best with your new house, with your family, with your off season. And we're like, I can tell you that all of Steelers Nation here in Ireland are very much looking forward to seeing you back in the field come August and September.
I got you on that, baby. Well, hey, I'm gonna have me a little. I'm gonna have me a little outfit
I
so I
will
can
have
make
to get
sure
you
I
some
represent
green
y'all, man.
socks or a couple of shamrocks for your helmet to represent Steelers Nation here.
Yeah, there we go. I want to
Montravius,
make
thank you
sure I
for coming
represent.
on and talking to me, and take care.